Hi, this is Dr. Darwin, the new dentist coach, with another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin. Today, we're going to be talking about getting into dental school. So, those pre-dental students, are you listening? Are you listening? Do you need some tips? You want to hear about some successful actions that you can utilize to help you get into dental school? Stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Darwin Speaks, right down here, and hit the bell notifications, all right? That way you won't miss any of the videos that are being released on a weekly basis. I don't want you to miss these videos because they're very helpful and they can help you either get into dental school, get into residency, get a license, get a job, etc., etc., etc. So don't forget to hit that bell notification and subscribe and share it as well. Thanks. Hey, this is Dr. Darwin, the new dentist coach, with another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin on the New Dentist podcast show. You ask questions about getting into dental school, getting into residency, and then also life after dental school and residency as a new dentist. Today, we're going to be talking with a pre-dental student that should be commended and congratulated because he just got into dental school. We're going to be talking, yes, exactly. We're going to be talking with future student doctor Isaiah Sampson, who's living on the west side, on the west coast of the U.S. And we're going to be learning some pre-dental tips and successful actions that are going to help you get into dental school. And that's what we're going to be talking about, all right? How he got accepted into UCLA dental school. And he's going to share some of these tips and some of his successful actions that I'm sure we're sure that are definitely going to be able to help you. So welcome, future student Dr. Isaiah Sampson. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. This whole summer thing of not having anything to do it's nice, but we'll see how long it takes to to get old. But doing well.
That's good, man. I would tell you one thing, man. Enjoy your free time right now.
Yeah, that's what everyone keeps telling me. So I'm gonna soak it in until I can't anymore.
Soak it in, put it in your hair, put it in the back of your neck, on your elbows, your toes, whatever it is. Soak it in, man, because you are about to be on a ride of a lifetime called not getting into dental school, but a ride called surviving dental school and getting through dental school. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So like you said, my name is Isaiah Sampson. I currently live in Arizona because I just graduated from Arizona State University. Like 2-3 weeks ago, just graduated. My major was microbiology and my minor was in music. And as far as where I'm actually from, I've moved around like my whole life. So I was born in South Carolina, moved when I was a baby to Washington, moved from Washington to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii to Tennessee, moved to Arizona for college, and then now my parents live in California. So I'm a California resident now. But yeah, in the September, going over to UCLA School of Dentistry, gonna start the grind. So super excited about that.
Yeah, well, you said a mouthful, especially that last part. Start the grind. Yes, it will be a grind. So tell us a little bit about why you've decided to make dentistry your career.
And so it came from a lot of experiences at first. So when I was about 9 years old, it was after my sister's basketball game. And there's a kid who was trying to get the ball from me. And it was after the game too. So that's kind of funny how stuff happens after the game. So he was trying to get the ball from me, moved the ball away from him. He ended up tripping, falling, head knocked into my little sister's mouth, knocked 6 teeth out of her mouth. And just seeing how that whole process went, because that was trauma to the face, and it's how like long it took her teeth to grow back and how that affected her with her having to get orthodontics and how they had to be so special about that. And so that was just an introductory period where I was just interested. And then later on, when I was in high school, my mom had some really bad dental health issues. She ended up having some teeth like fall out. She was biting into something, teeth fell out. And then through that, she like crumbled pretty much, and seeing how she turned into herself and didn't want to go to work, didn't want to like talk, didn't want to smile, and how that affected her on a personal level, on a professional level, from all types of levels. This thing that started with health impacted her life fully. And so the first experience with my sister gave me an interest, but then the second experience gave me how it's really important and why it's something that's really, really matters. And then having the basic idea of having it being science heavy and then also being somewhat artistic is really interesting to me. So it just all kind of folded together pretty perfectly in that sense.
Wow, and that sounds like that story sounds like a great, probably was a great segue that kind of helped you with your personal statement, I'm sure too.
Yeah, that made it a lot easier to try to hone in on why would I want to be a dentist.
Yeah. So for those of you that are watching and listening, that is a tip right there for your application. Tell a story. Tell and know why dentistry. You know, let the admissions selection committee know why dentistry, and everybody's story is going to be unique. All right. So if you have that story down packed, you probably got most of your personal statement written out for the most part.
Oh yeah.
That's good. So that's good. So you decided dentistry. Then the next step was programs. So how did you come up with your list of programs, and what school? I know you say you've moved in different parts of the country throughout the years. How did you come up with your list of schools?
So it came down to what their institutions were like in terms of what they're focused on, and location, and then cost. So in terms of what they're focused on, I wanted to be to a school that was more so research heavy, because I want to be at a school that allows me to do research as a student. Since I am kind of interested in specializing, I want to be able to have that option and have it be an option that people actually is heavily trotted. And then location, I would prefer to be on the West Coast. So all the West Coast schools I was leaning towards, because my family's in California, all my extended family's in Los Angeles. So it'd be really cool to be on the West Coast. And then I applied to some New York schools as well. And then cost, because obviously education, it's an investment, but it's an investment that you want to be smart about. So I wanted to go to schools that were reasonably cost efficient.
That's good. Well, you definitely got a lot of schools to choose from. 2 in Arizona, 1, 2, 3, 4 in Southern California, and actually there's a 5th one that's coming up pretty soon. Yeah, there's one coming up in like Bakersfield.
Oh wow!
And not too in the next couple of next year or two, and then of course you got all the ones in Northern California, and then also Oregon, Washington State, and everything else. So that's great. So you picked your schools based on focus, location, and cost. Now you mentioned something about research, and you mentioned also something about thinking about specializing. Have you kind of thought about that already?
Yes, sir. So I'm going to be shadowing endodontists and oral surgeons later on in the summertime after I get my work schedule intact. And so I'm kind of leaning towards those, but I'm I think I want to keep my options. I definitely keep my options open for when I'm in dental school. But as of now, those things interest me the most.
Well, you know what? That's great that you have an interest and you have an idea. I would tell you this first year of dental school is going to be very important. This is going to set the foundation for this time 3 years from now, when you're starting applying to endo programs or oral surgery programs or whatever programs you're thinking about specializing. Also, I appreciate you sharing that with me, because right where you are going to be in LA, I've got some connections there that can really, really help you. I know you say you're going to be shadowing, but I also have a former resident of ours that's just finished the endo program at USC, crosstown rival, and also have a colleague who runs the oral surgery program at UCLA Harbor.
Yes, sir. I saw that interview, and that was really cool. I love that.
Yeah, Dr. Calhoun. So I appreciate you sharing that with you, because we definitely want to get you connected with those folks as you are continuing to explore the areas of specialization in dentistry. So that's great. So so we talked about the program. So now you've got your list of schools, you're starting to apply. What was the biggest challenge that you had, and how did you kind of overcome it?
So the biggest challenge was probably creating the narrative for my application, and not necessarily having a single theme, but having a narrative that I want to push. So when someone reads my application, they can digest what kind of student I'm going to be, and they can digest what kind of healthcare professional I'm going to be. And so taking all of the experiences, it helped that I was a little bit more meticulous in the experiences that I was interested in. But taking all the experiences, taking the skills that I gained from them, and creating a coherent narrative and things that they could take off and digest from my application in terms of skills that will translate into the field that I'm going into. And so that was more difficult, but I was able to overcome it by talking to the pre-health advisors, talking to the dentists, and just really doing a lot of research on the things that are helpful to be a healthcare professional. So what skills are you going to get from something? Is it going to be communication? Is it going to be problem solving? Is it going to be analytical thinking? Is it going to be leadership? What are these things that you're getting out of these experiences that you're involved in? And how do these translate? So honing in on that and taking all of the extracurriculars and putting that into the narrative that you want to support and digest as your application was something that I really wanted to hone in on.
Man, you said a mouthful. I think we can stop. We can stop the interview now, man. Do one of President Obama's things. Sampson out. Student Sampson out. Man, I think that was just so well said and put together as far as creating the narrative. I think that is probably the thing that most people have a challenge with, because it is their first time applying to dental school. It's something new. It's not college, and it's just so much that, you know, as pre-dental students that you have to put together, that you have to do the shadowing, the GPA, the extracurricular activities, and kind of put that together. And it can't be just what pre-dental students think the schools want to hear. It doesn't work that way. But the fact that you were very intentional and creating that narrative for the application process and knew how to kind of put it all together and be meticulous, that's a great tip, man. That's a great strategy. I love that. So that's great. So you got your application together. Evidently, you definitely had some people that were interested. Tell us a little bit about the interviews. How many schools did you apply to? How many schools did you get interviews to? And what were your last list of schools that you had applied to and got interviews from?
Yeah, so I applied to 9 schools, and then with how our letters of recommendation happened, only 8 of the applications were actually able to be put through. And then so out of those 8 schools, I got 5 interviews and then attended 4 of the interviews. So the ones I applied to, were UT Houston, UCSF, UCLA, USC, University of Washington, NYU, Columbia, and Harvard as a reach. And then the ones I interviewed at were NYU, University of Washington, I forgot Colorado, and UCLA.
Wow, good, okay. Yeah, so you got a good mix of West Coast and 2 of the top, the top 3 schools on the East Coast here, Harvard, UCLA, and Columbia on the East Coast. Great. So you had your interviews. I'm sure each interview day was totally different. Really different. That's cool. I mean, we're going from the largest dental school in the country to the smallest dental school in the country, right? NYU being the largest, Harvard being the smallest of I think it's maybe 40 people. We've had some residents in our program that have come from Harvard. So big difference. 380 people to 38 people or 40 people. So what were your interviews like? And can you share some tips for some people, just some general tips?
Yeah, so the interviews ranged in terms of the structure. So for Colorado, University of Washington, for Colorado, UCLA, and NYU, they were more so standard interviews, as if they were just one-on-one interviews. You were talking to that person for a set of time, and then that's how it went. But then University of Washington was MMI. And for the whole day, all of them had around the same theme, excluding University of Washington. They kind of had their own thing going. It was a 2-day interview. But the rest of them, you have your tours, you have your informational sessions, you have your financial aid, and then you do your interviews. But for University of Washington, it was the first day you have your informational session, and the second day you have your interviews. And so tips I would have for the interview is going into it with the mindset is you're going to meet people. And when people go in, they're thinking, oh, I'm going into my interview and I'm scaring myself because all I'm thinking about is the fact that it's an interview, and they psych themselves out of the interview and they forget that you're just talking to people, meeting people, and seeing what the environment is like. And so going in with that mindset, being able to see what the environments were like, talk to different people, meet different people, see what those experiences were as not a priority, but something that was really important, made it, took a lot of the pressure off of the interview itself. And so you're able to be more natural within the interview.
Cool. Yeah. You got to keep in mind that, yes, you will be talking to someone and they're going to be asking you some more of a formal interview question, but that interview starts the day, right when you pull up and get dropped off by Uber or whatever it is, and you walk into the school. Your interview starts from the first person that greets you to them asking you if you want to sit down, if you want something to drink, going on tours, how you interact in tours. Everybody's watching you, man. They're watching you 360 degrees all the way around, everything that you do, right? So, and I think that's a great tip to realize that you are there to meet people, because just as much as they want to interview you, you are interviewing them too.
Definitely.
Right? Because at the end of the day, it is about getting into dental school, but it's also finding a place that's going to be your home for 4 years, and a place that you can get through first, second, third, and fourth and get out of there in 4 years. So you have to do part of that, that process is for you as well.
Yeah, and like my UCLA interview, it wasn't very long. I would say it was 10 minutes at most. And a lot of it was me asking them questions after probably 5-7 minutes of us discussing a few things. And we didn't even talk about really intense subjects. We briefly discussed my research, talked about music for pretty much the rest of the time, talking about Erykah Badu and playing the ukulele. And so after that, it was mostly asking them questions. And that's really important, being able to focus on when it is December 2nd this year, how you're going to be able to decide what schools you're going to. And so informational sessions will do a lot, but asking those questions and having the faculty be able to answer your direct question is really important during that interview time.
So you guys heard it. You heard it. He said you need, one tip and strategy is you have to have your own questions and go into the interviews wanting to ask them questions as well. And that shows, I can tell you, being a program director, and we go through about 100 interviews, not as much as some of the dental schools do, but for us, it's a lot. We want to see that you guys are engaged, that you have questions, that you're interested, not just you being interesting and just telling about yourself. Oh, Darwin this, Darwin that, or Isaiah this, Isaiah, yeah, I'm this, I'm that. We don't necessarily want to hear that. We want to be engaged by you having questions as well about the program. So that's a great tip, man. That's a great tip. So got your interviews, got your list of schools. Now you came down to your final selection. And
yeah.
so what were your top schools, and how did you end up picking UCLA?
So the top 3 that I was dreaming of going to, so it was UCLA first, UCSF second, and then University of Washington third. And so I ended up I didn't get an interview to UCSF, but it was down to a wait list at NYU, getting accepted to UCLA, and getting accepted to University of Washington. And so one of the biggest things was cost. There was a huge cost difference between UCLA and University of Washington.
Really? What's the difference in UCLA and Washington?
It was like over 150,000. That was a little bit easier of a decision. Yeah, it was
no bueno.
Yeah, well, that made it a lot easier, and especially since I have family in LA. My mom's from LA, my granny's in LA, like 10 miles away from LA. So that made it a lot easier, and I wanted to go to that school because they have a huge increase in research. I think they've tripled their research in the past 24 years. So that shows that people are trusting in their faculty. Students are able to do research there. They have they have honors pass-fail grading system, no class rank. And so all of that just made it a lot easier on top of the whole what's probably going to end up being $200,000 saved. But yeah, University of Washington was amazing though. So.
Yeah, so that's great. So you based on your decision based on cost and the ability, a place where you're going to be able to do some research, which is big, man. I mean, two of the programs that you're thinking about specializing in, those practitioners, those specialists, they do research.
Mm-hmm.
They do research, and we could talk about some more tips later on as it relates to residency. But the main thing that I wanted to share with you with regards to that is you applying to residency starts your D1 year.
Yeah.
All right.
Which ways is that? Yeah.
Well, especially if you're going to UCLA or another school where it's pass fail and there is no GPA,
mm-hmm.
right? So granted, there's still there are some schools that have gone to that type of methodology as far as pass fail, and they have a grading sheet as to what that means. I know some schools like Roseman, a pass is 90 and above.
Mm-hmm.
Other schools it may be 85 or above, whatever it is. But, most residency programs are still fixated on class rank GPA.
Mm-hmm.
So doesn't mean that coming from UCLA or a school that has pass fail is going to hurt you. It just means that there's other opportunities for you to shine, right? Yeah. And so ways for you that you're probably going to end up shining is probably going to be through your extracurricular activities and your preparation, what you're doing your first, second, and third year in preparation for applying to specialty programs. Research, oral surgery. If you watch the video, and I'm going to put it up right here, the video with Dr. Calhoun, who's the program director, oral surgery program director at UCLA, Harbor UCLA. And she'll, one of the tips she said for people that are interested in becoming an oral surgeon is try to get your research experience early.
Mm-hmm.
She says as early as first year if you can,
mm-hmm.
because time is going to fly, especially when you start getting in clinic, your D3, and of course your D4 year. You may not have enough time to try to do some research, but first year is probably the biggest window that you can jump through and get some research experience. So just kind of keep that in mind. Same thing with endo. They are definitely evidence-based, an evidence-based specialty program. They do a lot of lit reviews, and a lot of the things that they do and things that they don't do is based on EBD and research. So another opportunity to kind of dive in there and be really meticulous and intentional in creating that narrative for specialty programs that you're going to be applying to right now during your first year. So that's why I'm saying your first year is going to set you up. First and second year is going to set you up for your residency applications 3 or 4 years from down the line. But again, we'll talk about that at another time. So, but yeah, so definitely. So last question, and hopefully you guys are still listening. Don't stop, listen, don't cut it off. Watch until the end, because here it comes. So advice, as a current PreDental that's been going through this process at least 2 years, what advice, tidbits, strategies, in additional to what you've already shared, what would you give current PreDentals who are going through this application process right now?
Yeah, so my advice would be to engage yourself in whatever community that is important. And so if it's the science community, engage yourself in that community. If it's the community, like the community service and outreach, engage yourself in that community. And being able to do things that you like, but also when you're doing things you like, know what skills are going to be tuned through those opportunities. And so like for me, I was doing mentorship opportunities, TA opportunities, and things that were more so from the teaching perspective and the mentorship perspective. And so communication became an uprising theme with my application. And so when you're picking the extracurriculars that you're going to be involved in, think about what skills are going to be sharpened through that opportunity. And it, like referring to what I was saying earlier, it does make it easier to make that narrative when throughout your whole 3 years, 4 years of undergrad, you're able to tailor that narrative through what you're doing, and then being able to bring that all into one without having to reach for this extracurricular and then trying to see what that is at application time, then reach for this extracurricular and trying to see what that is at this application time. Being able to pick what you're doing and then analyze what skills are going to be getting out of it. It makes it a lot easier when you get to that application point to be able to know what your application is going to look like. And so do things you like, but also be intentional in what you're going to be getting out of those things in terms of sharpening yourself as a professional. But doing things that you like is going to be able to separate yourself.
Yeah. Because then it doesn't seem like work.
It doesn't at all.
It just allows yourself to express yourself naturally, and people can see it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, hey, definitely see why you got into dental school.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Very proud of you. I'm glad that you took the time to kind of share, how you got accepted to UCLA and some of your successful actions that other pre-dental students could mimic or actually just utilize and kind of regurgitate and put it together for themselves. So thank you so much, man. And again, congratulations in getting into dental school.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to be on this show. I've been watching them for forever, and so being able to be a part of it, it's really cool to see. It's really crazy.
Well, good, man. Hey, I'm glad to hear that. In that case, that makes it very easy for us to follow you all the way through these 4 years of dental school. Now that you've gotten in, now this time next year, we're going to be talking again about how you survived that first year. And some of the things that you did to get through the D1 year, because it's going to be different for everybody throughout the country. Every school is different. D1's experiences are different. So the fact that you like being on the show, hey, that's a segue to make sure that we can follow you through your D4, through your D4 years, these D1, D2, D3, and D4 year, these next 4 years. How's that sound?
That sounds great to me.
Cool. Hey guys, and the things that you've heard, if those things sound great to you as well, let us know right down here in the comments below. The question of the day is, what did you learn today that you didn't know? Or what did you learn today that you're going to actually incorporate into you getting prepared and applying to dental school? Put those comments down here at below. And also you can send them to me at newdentistcoach@gmail.com. newdentistcoach@gmail.com. We've also launched a new website. You can send me an email at that website as well, DrDarwin at thenewdentistcoach@gmail.com. All right. So if you have questions or if you have other topics that you want us to talk about, be sure to send those emails and those topics to those emails below there. And future student Dr. Sampson, if people have questions, if they want to talk to you a little bit more about some of the schools, the 9 schools that you applied to, and they want to just kind of connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so the easiest way to reach me would probably be through Instagram. So it would be at IZZYSAMP, so Izzy Samp, IZZYSAMP. Or if they want to email me, if they don't have an Instagram, it could be at isaiah.sampson@yahoo.com. So ISAIAH.SAMPSON@yahoo.com.
Awesome. And we're going to put those, we just put those down right here so people can contact you. Again, guys, thank you for listening. Share your comments, send your questions and those topics, and check out the next video right here and also right here. These 2 videos, 1, 2, about getting into dental school. Hopefully those will help you too. Future student Dr. Sampson, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Bye.